Revenge films.
I'm 43 and single. I often get asked, why don't you get married? But there is a reason why I can't get married. When I was 23, after graduating college, I entered an advertising agency. I was sent to the sales department. Back then, I was quite small and chubby, so I was honestly not looking forward to working in sales. Unsurprisingly, half a year into the position, because I didn't have confidence, I messed up a lot. I got yelled a lot by my higher-up, and it did get me down, but I didn't want to quit this job. My boss, named Mr. James, the sales manager, was 30 and married. He would come to me when I was getting yelled at and help me out of tough situations constantly. He was trusted by his coworkers, was a devoted husband, and in just 3 years of joining the company, he had moved up the ladder to manager position. So I didn't think he was a bad person at all. To teach me about work, we would often go around sales together. On our third time,
I forgot something in my house. Would you mind if we stopped by for a bit?
sure. When we got to his house, I was waiting for him outside.
It's pretty hot outside. Come in for a cold drink.
If you insist. Like I said, I had fully trusted this person until then.
I'll go get the stuff.
I'll be waiting here. As I waited for him and drank the tea, Mr. James went upstairs. Picture of his wife and child. He must really love his family. As I thought so, I heard Mr. James come downstairs. Mr. James, you have such a wonderful family. I'm so jealous. As I said that, I saw Mr. James standing there holding duct tape. Huh? As I stood there in shock, something hit me in the head and I fell to the ground dizzy. As I lay there, tape was put on my mouth, and I couldn't fend for myself. And he did what he wanted onto me while I was powerless. The day he dropped me off near my apartment in his car, I was in shock, and I got back to my room and stood there for a few minutes. What do I do? As I contemplated, I dropped to the ground and cried. After that, I skipped work for 2 days.
Hey, are you alright? You're absent without calling in. Did something happen?
When I picked up the phone from the office, it was Mr. James. I cut the phone without saying anything. Then, an emotion burst inside of me. I can't stand a person doing something like that to me. Is living a normal life. I'll get my revenge. It was vengeance. On the same day, I went to the hospital to get everything checked up and get evidence. I also picked up the underwear and stockings I wore that day to save. I bought a recorder for what's to come and saved every email and message I received from Mr. James after the incident. The next day, I went to the office without hesitation. Hey, what happened to those scars? It's nothing.
You tripped pretty badly when we were on sales, huh? Are you alright?
Yes, I see. You're so clumsy.
Yeah, I can't ignore her, you know.
I was about to burst in anger looking at Mr. James talking to me normally. He continued to bombard me after.
Did you go to the hospital?
No,
Alright, I'll go and buy you some cream.
he thinks that I won't retaliate and is relieved. You just wait. As I thought, pressing the save button. Then, I went along with my usual work. I was waiting to get the evidence I needed. And 1 month later, I called for Mr. James to come to a nearby cafe. Mr. James, this is the report for abuse I'm going to submit. Here's the evidence I got from the hospital.
You lied about going to the hospital? But a bad rumor about you is just going to go around, you know? Because you came into my house and asked for permission, right? It was consensual.
Consensual? Who would think that was consensual?
This is just evidence you went down, right? Do you have any other evidence? Why aren't you talking? I'm asking if you have evidence I raped you. Huh? I'm saying this so you don't get any more hate. See? You're quiet. You don't have any more evidence, huh? I'll forgive you for today that...
I do.
Huh?
I have evidence. It's in my belly.
What? Wait, you...
Yes, I have his baby in my stomach. The reason I waited for a month was to get the evidence I was pregnant. There was nothing wrong with the baby. And I didn't want to take advantage of it like this, but I also thought it'll be the best evidence I have. Whatever. With this evidence and the report for abuse, I have evidence for your affair. And a bruise from a fall doesn't match a bruise from a person. This is evidence for that. Plus, I have the underwear that you broke with your prints on them. See? I do have evidence.
Wait, remember what happened? You enjoyed it too, right? It looked like you did, so it was consensual. So please, about the report.
I will not forgive you. He told me he'd pay, but I ignored him and went to the police with my lawyer to report the abuse. But things were tough afterwards too. When we met to discuss with everyone, I believe he did nothing wrong. I trust this man as my husband and a father. He says he didn't do it. Mrs. James said, crying. And for some reason, Mr. James cried beside her.
Yeah, I didn't do it. She made up everything.
The lawyer said that Mr. James was completely innocent, and that I was lying and made up every part of that story. So, our team put out our next big evidence. We put a voice recorder out and played play, and everyone was in shock.
Please, listen to this. Plus, here's the evidence for the abuse. Mr. James' fingerprints were found on her underwear, and there's a baby in her womb that is likely his.
No way! It can't be! You told me it was all her fault!
Mr. James, please consent to take a DNA test to check the father of the baby. If it's all a lie, then there isn't a problem, right?
Mr. James sat there trembling in silence, and his wife was in shock. Their lawyer knew that all hope was lost. Later, Mr. James was sentenced guilty for his actions. He was fired from his job, divorced his wife, and because his ex-wife and I both requested alimony, he had to sell his house and became dirt poor. At least he was able to stay in prison, which didn't set well with me. But after he was let out, there was nothing he could do from there, which was a relief. Later, I said goodbye to the child. It was horrifying to be abused by someone, but I still couldn't get over the feeling of letting go of an innocent child. But back then, that was the only thing that I could have done. Now, I moved somewhere far, far away, where nobody knows my past, and I live off the alimony and hope to one day be set free from what I had to do.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.